This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello, I'm Vulture Senior Editor Jesse David Fox, and welcome to another episode of Good One, a podcast about jokes, or in some cases, sketches. I say that because this is an example of such. So, a bunch of episodes ago, we had Vanessa Bayer on to talk about Jacob the Bar Mitzvah Boy, but at the end, I asked her to tell me everything she can about the creation of the Totino's trilogy of sketches. For those unfamiliar, for 3 years, 2015 when J.K. Simmons hosted, 2016 when Larry David hosted, and 2017 when Kristen Stewart hosted, in the episode before the Super Bowl, Saturday Night Live had a sketch that started as an ad for Totino's pizza rolls, but then slowly turned into something else entirely. Here's Vanessa explaining the origin.
So I wanted to do something about Totino's, and I often will play those kind of like commercial women, moms, and we were talking about it, and I wrote it with Sarah Schneider and Chris Kelly, and then somehow I wanted to do something about how women have nothing to do during those, or how they're portrayed like in a way in those Super Bowl commercials, like they're like just doing nothing while the guys, you know, I've just played that woman a million times, but getting to do that and those tropes from those Super Bowl commercials of like the hungry guys and stuff, it was so fun that we got to do it 3 years in a row.
This episode, you'll get the full story, as our guests are the writers of the sketches and former SNL co-head writers Chris Kelly and Sarah Schneider. Chris and Sarah were responsible for some of the absolute best sketches during their run on the show from 2011 to 2017, like Dude on My Twin Bed, Back Home Ballers, Wishing Boot, The Agency, the Wes Anderson horror trailer, Crucible Cast Party, and so much more. And now the two created The Other Two together, a show about what happens when your little brother becomes a breakout pop star, which currently airs Thursdays on Comedy Central. How this episode will work is we'll go one installment of the Totino's trilogy at a time, starting with 2015's Totino's Activity Pack Super Bowl commercial. They all have visual elements, especially the third needs to be seen, but you can definitely get a sense from listening. And if it isn't clear in the interview, let me just say I truly love these sketches, so I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. So here's Vanessa Bayer and J.K. Simmons playing her husband, and then Chris, Sarah, and me.
Go! Who's ready for some more Totino's pizza rolls?
Oh, man. Thanks, honey. You're the best.
Anything for my hungry guys.
Now get out of here, you. The game's on.
Okay, sweetheart. I'll be in the kitchen if you need me. When it comes to the big game, I love feeding my hungry guys. But now what? I normally just sit in the kitchen, waiting for them to ask for more delicious Totino's pizza rolls. But that can be so boring. Well, not anymore. Introducing Totino's new Super Bowl activity pack for women. It's full of fun little puzzles and games to keep my mind active and learning while I wait back here. My hungry guys aren't the only ones having fun today. With my Super Bowl activity pack for women, I can spin a little top. Connect the dots. Oh, look, it's a little bee. Do a word search. Hat. Found hat. Count my own money. And plenty of other activities I can drop at a moment's notice.
Honey, we're out of pizza rolls.
Coming right up.
Ooh, my favorite.
Totino! Look, honey, it's a little bee.
Yeah, we're also out of beers when you get a second.
Anything for my hungry guys.
Hey, does your wife want to watch the game with us?
No, she's good. She's got her little activity pack.
Plus, if I get hungry from all the puzzles and games, my activity pack comes with one little Totino just for me. Is the game almost over?
No, it's still the first quarter.
Well, I already did that whole activity pack you gave me.
We'll open another one then.
Okay. Anything for my hungry guys. The Totino Super Bowl Activity Pack for grown women ages 5 and up.
I'm here with the writers of the sketch you just heard, Sarah Schneider and Chris Kelly. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to start from the beginning and set the stage a little bit. I'm going to run through your history so quickly so we don't have to go through it again.
Cool.
It's interesting because SNL hires people individually and then they like naturally become partners. So to set the scene, you're both hired as full-time writers in 2011 season, though Sarah, you were a guest writer for 5 episodes in the season before.
Correct.
The first time you met was briefly on a College Humor short about Zelda.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Cool. So the first episode of 2011 season, you work together in some capacity for the first time on a sketch with Nassim Pedrad, where she plays the daughter of a child psychologist.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes, this is thorough.
Yes, I know. And then over the course of that year, you like work together or don't work together. You grow, you bond, and then by the beginning of the second season, you are a team. Can you remember a specific moment in that time period where it felt like things locked in, where it was clear it was a sensibility fit, and like what was that sensibility fit?
Yeah, when we first started writing together, I think maybe one of the first things we realized we had in common was we like to take very small things and blow them out of proportion,
Yeah.
or a lot of things that were based on our childhood or growing up in suburbia. So we did like this hometown ad, which was like an ad for going back to your hometown.
Like a tourism ad. Yeah.
But then even like a lot of our sketches like Back Home Baller or Do It on My Twin Bed, I think have a sense of like taking a nostalgic thing and
Christmas Mass
exploding.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your promoter writing supervisor, which suggests a certain amount of trust put upon you. Writing supervisors tend to write a lot of the show. At this point, you had in the season, Back Home Ballers was the season, Wish and Boot was the season, the Dudleys, Christmas Mass Spectacular was the season. Hillary Clinton is but on the horizon. So it is Monday before the Super Bowl. J.K. Simmons is the host. Is anything at all being pitched in the pitch meeting about Totino's in general?
No,
anything
no.
like
Well, I think everyone knew, it's the Super Bowl. Chris and Sarah have got this week on lock. We will take the
Yeah,
Super
that's
Bowl.
us.
Yes.
No, I think Totino started because Vanessa pitched a version of this character as a live sketch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think either pitched it to us or was curious about someone writing with her. She had like the idea of this woman, right? Or this voice.
She was just like, how it's in those commercials, there's always someone being like, my hungry guys. That
but
was
then didn't really know what
the
it would be or
piece.
what the premise
Yeah.
would be. And I think then we pitched the idea of a video version of that.
Yeah.
And the joke of it, I
Yes.
think, or something.
Was it, so that would be on like Tuesday? She's talking about what she had in mind?
Probably, or maybe Monday night she had mentioned she had this voice or the idea of this woman, and then we probably thought on it overnight and then pitched her our
I
take
think so.
on it
I
on
think that was
Tuesday.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think talking to her, she was like,
You're like, I already knew the answer.
No, she didn't know. She just goes, I had she had the idea of Totino's, and I think my hungry guys.
Yes.
Oh, great. Yes, we were right. Okay, cool.
And I think that was it. But it is interesting because, like, it's similar like with Jacob, where she's like, I have this phrase, and the entire character is the fact that she says, my hungry guy.
Yeah. I did another sketch with her very quickly. I'll just say this Dove commercial that was also just based on her being like, or like one small sound. And we did an entire sketch on it.
But it is so weird because sometimes
so
a cast
specific.
member will say like, oh, I had this idea where I say like, and you're like, cool. I don't know what to do with that. But then sometimes it will just hit you perfectly.
That
I
was
don't know
like
why.
Kate.
The idea of this.
Kate won.
Oh, yeah.
Kate was like, I want to do a sketch where I go, no.
like says no in
Says
an
no
Australian
in
accent.
We're like, that's not a thing yet.
Well, I think if we had been in our sixth year, we would have been like, we don't have time to do that. But our first year, we were like, okay.
Yes, we'll
and
figure this out.
It did. We
Yeah,
wrote a
it was
sketch and
on.
it went. But it was, I don't know why. Sometimes just will hit you. But Vanessa doing this woman, I just made our brains go to places. It just
She
worked.
was
I mean,
just
it was so funny.
good about calling out the specificity of this thing, and it just happened to be, it happened to be something we also found funny or had noticed, or it works when someone does it to you, and you're like, you said 2 words, and I can picture this woman's entire life.
Well, that's Vanessa in particular is so good at. She has like so many very, very specific women with like small tics and personality traits that are so unbelievably small and nuanced that are just perfect. You're like, oh, I just know, I know this woman's entire history.
Yes. Do you talk it out, or you just sort of know? It's sort of like, we all know what this woman is. We can write it.
I don't even really remember. I think we probably improvised it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would just kind of improvise it and like take notes and then see what makes us laugh the most.
With this first one, we definitely took her character and took it to kind of like a darker place.
Well, because
she
Vanessa
was on board.
but also
Of course.
Vanessa is specifically so funny when she's like sad.
Sad, yeah.
When she's kind of smiling, but
Smiling
she's just
through pain.
Yeah, smiling through pain is Vanessa Bayer's real. Ooh, she's perfect at it. It's her sweet spot.
So what was the sort of evolution of the idea where you're like, oh, activity pack is the sort of thing? The manifestation of like this person's
I don't know. It just seems so perfectly rude to her. We liked that it was so rude, but phrased as such a compliment, just like a true fun thing, honestly, this woman will enjoy. And like, you can enjoy the game. Your woman also can have a blast. That it's phrased as just like a helpful thing to like help her while away the hours. But then just Vanessa, she's so funny. Just her like slapping that little gooey hand against the...
That is my favorite moment. That is so funny.
You've said you write often by what's something we hate. What do you what do you hate that this is the subject of?
This was sort of like we were calling out that those commercials are just like so focused and marketed to men, and like if there's a woman, she comes in to bring beers and then disappears. And that was the impetus for this thought process, just being like, where does she go?
Well, even Vanessa being like, my hungry guys is so, there's so much rudeness baked into that. Like, a woman doesn't talk like that, and it's just that it's and I don't know.
Yeah, and then it's all about like, it's her role during this fun time is to like bring them treats.
Yeah, I think it started with us being like, well, then where does that woman go?
Yeah, exactly.
Like she delivers well, I think we were like, she delivers the little treats, and then she goes into the kitchen and she stands absolutely still for 3 hours until someone like calls her. And so we were like, I think, then we're like, she needs a little
something to do back there.
Or some cards or something to play with while she's back there.
Do you watch commercials for actual Totinos before you're writing fake commercial? I'm always the first 30 seconds where you're like, where they have to.
We did once we knew we were gonna write it.
Yeah.
Any time we write a sketch that is like a parody of something or supposed to be a real commercial, that fucking 30 seconds before the joke is the worst, hardest thing to write. Because like we've brainstormed the jokes and then we know how that goes.
Yeah.
But every time we start, we're like, I don't know what he says. What does the guy say before the woman who's funny comes in?
You mentioned a little bit, but I think the question everyone's been waiting for, literally, how do you write? When you're two people, it's one person typing, is the other person throwing the tennis ball against the wall?
Oh, yeah.
One of them has an activity pack, and we just do it in the back.
Yeah, I do the writing, and Sarah plays with an activity pack. We usually, because on writing nights, we usually write between 4 and 5 things a night, so usually we'll switch off like taking notes. So someone will sit at a computer, but usually to be me and Sarah just improvising, or Sarah and me, and in this case, Vanessa, just like shooting the shit for an hour or two and brainstorming and improvising as many things as possible. And anything that seems remotely worth typing down, whoever's typing will do it. And then we spend all night doing that. So for 5 sketches, and we'll switch off typing. And then we usually sleep for 2 hours and then wake up, and then we each put together half of them. Yeah. And then we read each other's first drafts and then punch them up or edit them. It's a real negotiation, because sometimes it's like, I don't want to put together the cold open. Please put together the cold open.
Or it'll be like, I'll do 2 if you do the cold open.
Yeah, or it'll be like mind games where I'm like, I want to do the cold open, but I know, Sarah, when we were taping it up, you really had a handle on the way that opened. I just feel like the first page was...
Thanks, that's really sweet of you.
You mentioned the hand sticking, like for those physical elements, like is that a thing that will be written out? It's like, oh, she'll have one of those toys that's like sticky hand.
I mean, some of the stuff you can improvise like on the day, but for a lot of stuff like that, the schedule is so quick that everything has to be scripted, because, I mean, if you write something into a script, props and costumes, everybody has to make that appear within 45 minutes, it seems like. So,
oh my God, I remember when Andrea brought us that. The prop master brought us the prop for the first time. It was so funny. Just like seeing all the little things in all the little compartments. We were like, what was this? How did you make this?
Yeah.
Do you remember anything from the table read of that sketch? There's one very specific sketch of the 5 sketches.
I know.
It is weird because my first answer is no, but it's also because you write so many things and you don't really know what will work or not work. Yeah. So we certainly didn't go like, wait till they hear that. You just are so tired and you're like, oh God. And honestly, if you have 5, you're like, oh, as long as one goes, just so we have something to do this week.
Yeah.
I feel like we wrote so infrequently with Vanessa that I do have a memory for all 3 of these, her just like pushing it through at table. She was so specific and so funny. And it was the reason we wanted to write it, was the reason it went. People just like recognized that woman. Yeah. And then the take was kind of rude in a good way.
I also could see one of the reasons maybe it worked at the table. I mean, fully because of Vanessa's performance, but because at the table, a lot of times there's like big characters or big funny voices and high energy things. And so I think Vanessa waiting for the attention to be on her and being quiet and then being like, my hungry guy. Like, we maybe even gave her a microphone so she wouldn't have to project.
When and where is this shot? And do you remember anything from just shooting it?
This It was a long one. Now you remember.
Yeah,
it was this
long.
was a particularly long.
It was on a set though, right?
Yeah, it was on a set. I don't know why. I forget what else was shooting that week, but there's always like 3 videos that balance, and sometimes it's like, oh, Vanessa's in all 3, so she's running back and forth. But this one was, I think, Friday night, very late. I think we maybe wrapped at like 8 in the morning on Saturday. Yeah. So Vanessa probably only got a couple hours of sleep before going into the run through on Saturday. Yeah, it was a.
I think also it was because usually there's, for a product commercial, a fake product, there's one product shot, and this had like a dozen, just because there were so many little things that we wanted inserts of. We wanted her holding somewhere. There was like the shot of the sticky hand is like a racking shot that had to be timed. There were just like all these little elements that added up.
JK's performance is really interesting, and it's like the propulsion of this, like it heightens because he is increasingly mad at her. Mm-hmm. Do you remember sort of how that was written or his performance? Because it's borderline like harsh.
Oh yeah, doesn't he say? Wait, what does he say at the end? He's one point where he's actually very mean to her,
get
right?
Back in there. Or something.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good example of. I would think just randomly that would be too much, or that would not work. Actually, being fully mean to her, but it's Vanessa.
Yeah,
and Vanessa can make that moment funny and not too hard, just because she's. I don't know. She's so perfect at. She's just so funny.
There's also a moment in that where JK is like perfectly dopey, where he's like, she's just back there doing her little activity pack, and I think that then allowed him to be like, just go. And also he had done Whiplash, where he just was so like we all knew him as like a mad screamer, so it was almost a parody of that in a way, or like he was allowed because it wasn't like this shock. It wasn't shocking because we
other than the scream at the end, I guess, which I'm just remembering now. I think the music cuts out. Oh God,
it's really.
And she just keeps smiling.
But other than the scream at the end, I think what we did like about it is that they're not even mean. The guys aren't even. They're not mean. It just doesn't even occur to them that this woman should be talked to in any other way. And honestly, the guys are probably like, "This is a great product. She's back there having a blast."
Yeah. How much is this sketch done in the edit, and in general? The thing about pre-tapes is the ability to edit. And what do you think generally that brings to a sketch?
Oh my God. Absolutely so crucial.
Much. Yeah.
We would we loved spending all Saturday in the edit for as much as time allowed. We just loved being in there because it really is, this. It's like, it could come down to truly 2 frames and you're like, oh, now the entire commercial works.
Yeah.
So especially for this one, we wanted to mimic the tone of that, but we also, there are so many hard cuts on her vibe with the guys yelling or where it's just that
it's harder when it's small, when it's a small performance, because you really need to make sure that is executed perfectly.
So the sketch airs. Did you get any notable feedback? Audience, producers, Lorne Michaels, did he this is my favorite thing, can't wait for next year?
Lorne kissed us both. He thanked us.
The best feedback we got was from Totino's.
The first year Totino's responded.
They sent us free Totinos. And it was great.
I will say that was not the best part for me. I did just mouth to you quietly. I don't remember that. That's my favorite part. And then we ate Totino's for weeks.
Well, because I was that commercial, it wasn't a takedown of Totino's. It was a takedown of Super Bowl commercials, but it's not the best for Totino's. So I was
I remember because Cecily and Vanessa would write those porn star sketches together, and they would get champagne sent to them after they did a champagne commercial, and then we got Totino's. So we're should we be writing parodies of things we want more?
Cars? I don't know. Jeez.
A year passes. The Super Bowl is coming up once again.
We again step up to the plate.
Sports number one sports fans.
We push everyone aside.
Yeah.
We say,
get out of the way, Brian Tucker, the person who started literally a sports sketch.
Yeah.
Larry David is the host, so you guys will be busy doing Bernie stuff. When and how does it come up to do another Totino's?
I think we loved that first one, and we just don't get to do stuff with Vanessa that much. So we were kind of could we continue to play in this world? But we did go in. I think Vanessa was maybe what about this lady? But we knew going into it that we would not want to just keep playing in the activity pack world. We would want it to be completely different, have a different tone, just because that's what we like to just change.
My memory of the second one was almost resistance to being because you don't really do sequels to videos. That doesn't make sense. You can do different music videos. But a
But
sequel
not like
to a
commercial
video,
parodies, is it?
It had never been done.
Oh God.
No, but it felt like weird to do a second one and then the third one we knew ahead of time what the idea was going to be. But I think sitting down to come up with a second one was stressful, or I think we were very much like, let's talk about it, and if it doesn't work, we'll bail on it.
How did you land on the idea of
I don't know. Do you know?
I really think it's like we were brainstorming how these commercials go, and Chris, like lawyer talk, literally was like, I think it's just like the guys would be like, go, 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 go.
But that's what it was.
Kept saying the same thing over and over again. Where I was like,
that's what
we
it
were
was.
like, this is like robotic. This is
that's what it was. We just latched onto the idea of like, go, 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 go. Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was talking. Oh, I know now. I
shoot,
love a podcast.
This is fun.
I was cast so many times in mod sketches at UCB where, I was an actor on a sketch team, and sometimes a sketch I should have been in. And sometimes I was a guy, so they put me in them.
Sure.
And a lot of sketches, it'll be like lights up on a bunch of guys watching, and they'd be like, go, 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 oh! And then the scene would start, and I always felt so inauthentic being one of those guys doing that. And I was always very aware that the audience was like, oh, Chris, they needed him on
Chris,
set.
you pulled it off.
But I just remember thinking that was like a funny way. And we all it's not funny in the moment. We all know that that's like a good, okay, now I get it. They're watching the game.
Yeah.
But we started talking about how stupid that was.
Yeah. But then, blew it out to a it's really creepy idea level.
Yeah.
My husband and his friends love to watch the big game, but all their cheering and shouting can make them pretty hungry. That's why I love Totino's Pizza Rolls, the only game time snack that satisfies my hungry guys.
Go, 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 touchdown!
And Totino's Pizza Rolls aren't just delicious, they're also easy to make. Simply
go, 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 touchdown!
Wow, there really is a lot happening fast in this big game. So this Super Bowl,
fumble!
Why not treat your hungry guys to the delicious taste of Totino?
Fumble!
If they're anything like my hungry guys, they'll love these cheesy bites more than their favorite team. Guys, the Totinos are ready. Hope I'm not interrupting the big game. There's nothing on the TV. The screen is completely black.
Go, 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 go! Touchdown!
Steven? What's going on? What have you guys been shouting at this whole time?
No, 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 no! Fumble!
Okay, haha. Very funny, Steven. Now cut it out.
Go, 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 go! Touchdown!
Why are you doing this? Brittany, get in the car.
No, 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 no! Fumble!
What's happening to my hungry guys?
The X-Files. New episodes. Mondays at 8.
This one has a different structure than the first in that the first one establishes its premise and then you're like, blah, blah. Where this one, it's not until like the middle where you know what's happening, which is it's hard to do on SNL because the audience is like a bunch of people who are like, what's sketch comedy?
Yeah.
No offense to those people. I've been those people. How do you make sure that they don't bail on it and stop paying attention if you're going to have essentially like a minute, 10 seconds of...
I know, that's either good or a mistake on our part. I don't remember. Because what does she do for the first... She's just sort of...
saying, like,
she's
my
playing her...
guys.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're getting some like light laughs off of just her character.
From her, and it's also like they interrupt her, and like there is the... There's a bit in the rhythm of it, but it really is like...
It's a long wait.
It's a long wait.
It is a while because they're like go, 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 and then fumble, and then they repeat it. And then I think like the fourth time you're kind of like, they're just repeating the same thing. But then it gets to a point where she gets the scissors and tells the kids to get in the car.
Yeah.
So it like
by the time she sees the screen is blank, then it's nonstop laughing.
Oh yeah, and then their eyes go black.
Their eyes are black.
And next year, you're now co-head writers. It is your last season on the show. It's Monday before the big game.
The big game.
I'm in full football attire,
yes,
and I'm like, we all know.
You can't wait for whatever two teams we're playing that year.
Football attire.
I imagine at this point you're like, we're going to do a third one.
We did know, and we had known what the idea was going to be for
months,
for a while. Because I think we were like, let's do a third one, and we had talked about the idea of this like lesbian love affair and this sort of like indie movie. We knew what it was going to be. And then when we found out who the host was, we were like, this is so comically perfect. It's insane.
Yeah.
We were truly just like, our asses were on fire. We were like, let's go. This is... We were ready to
two things had to fall into place. The host had to be Kristen Stewart.
No, we were so adamant. We were like, if the host is some guy, he won't be in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need those. We'll do Kate or something.
Yes.
We're like, Kate be on standby. So funny to have Kate McKinnon on standby.
Yes. By the time they told you Kristen Stewart was going to be the host of that episode, you knew you wanted to do it. So
we knew what the idea was.
And you were like...
I think we didn't think it was a good idea to do a second video when we did it. We were nervous and we didn't really have an idea and we weren't sure. But then once we did 2, we were like, oh, we should make it a trilogy, like purposely a trilogy on Stupid. It was Vanessa's last year.
And we just had spent so much time with this lady that we were like, she needs to win.
Yeah,
she needs to find her truth.
We actually did talk about it in those
it's
terms, as stupid as that sounds, as we wanted her to find happiness at the end of it.
It's true.
And I can confirm they are together to
I was going to ask.
They don't live in the States. I don't know where they live.
Italy.
They haven't live in Italy.
Is everyone enjoying the big game?
Oh, come on, babe. Don't act like you know sports.
My husband's right. When it comes to the big game, there's only one thing I know about. Feeding my hungry guys.
Come on, no! Oh, fumble!
And this year's game is bigger than ever, which means I'll be feeding them more Totinos than ever.
Babe, we need more Totinos. Dave just got here.
Not a problem, because this year I've got the new Totino's Totino 2-pack. It's twice the Totino for twice the hungry guys.
Enough yapping. We need the Totinos. Ted's here too, and he brought his sister.
Great. More hands to help me make delicious Totino's pizza rolls. Oh my. Hi. I'm Sabine. What's your name? I've never had one. That's a shame. I should bring these out. No, stay with me. What about my hungry guys? And what are you hungry for?
Come on! Do it! Yes! Touchdown! Hey, babe, we need those Totinos. What's going on back there?
What is it? Every big game before this one, I've been asleep. But Sabine, tu m'as réveillée. J'ai l'impression que nous sommes seulement les deux personnes sur Terre. Nous sommes...
They're gonna punt.
They're going to play. They have to.
C'est Totino. Et toi, tu es mon Totino.
Babe, what's taking so long with those Totinos? You girls making out back there?
You're crazy.
Totino. This spring, find your Totino.
So you mentioned a little bit. So this one has the most, I feel like the most jokes of all of them. Like there's so many specific things. Is it just sort of like, okay, French love story, that's at Totino's commercial, what is it? Okay, well, at some point she has to run a Totino verb.
Well, I think we didn't have to write like guys anymore. So we were like, women, gay, we can do this. So that's why there's more jokes.
But it's also not jokes in the traditional sense. It's just like tonally committing fully to this being like a Totino's love story. There is one, the guys do talk once, we pop out to the guys.
Yeah.
And it's just Beck or something being like, yeah, did you see how he tackled that guy? It's just like really small and stupid.
Well,
but it was improvised.
I remember Sarah made the call because I think I had pitched the idea of this like lesbian story. And I think I assumed, or we assumed for a while, that it would like leave the kitchen structure and leave the commercial structure, and we would follow them on an indie movie like in their lives. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, and Sarah was like, no, it absolutely should just be happening behind the couch, like on the kitchen island. The whole story should happen in the kitchen. And it was like such a dumb no-brainer that I'm
really good at.
I remember feeling embarrassed that hadn't occurred to me, and I volunteered to quit.
Yeah,
I volunteered to quit writing. And she would not accept my resignation. But I remembered like
whenever
that.
I add to one of Chris's ideas, he tries to quit.
But I was like, that was what made it so funny to me. So I liked just the little dumb things of them like spraying water on each other, like at the kitchen sink. And
do you remember anything else from shooting?
I think I remember the most of this one because I was so happy that it was happening. Because it was so gay and so weird and so specific. And I think because we had done the other two, Lauren and them were like, yeah, just make the third one, sure. Like, but it was, I mean, it worked at table.
Yeah.
This was the one, we felt so joyous about it.
One of the best parts and one of my favorite parts of this one is, so the husband at some point goes, what's taking you guys with these Totinos? You guys making out back there? And like the joke, and the guy's laughing, like the joke is on these straight people.
Yeah.
Like it's just really interesting. What did you want that moment to say? As you said,
well,
that's
such a straight joke in like straight commercials or TV shows, right? That's such a first joke you've heard all the time. Yeah. And I think we like that. Like, yes, they are making. If only you looked, they are.
If only you would look at your wife once during this
that's
big
why
game.
That's why it was so funny to me, the idea that they're all just back there as opposed to running off like in the woods together.
Yeah.
Is that he truly has not looked at her for 3 years. Yeah. And if he just looked, you would know.
Wow. That is beautiful.
That joke is that straightness is a joke and that like queerness is the given. Which completely subverts how these commercials work. And I think what is interesting is like SNL is a show that's been on 40 years and has, as anything that's been around for 40 years, has a complicated relationship with gay jokes or gay-related jokes. And I think that got better. And I think, especially with like James Anderson, Paula Pell, gay representation in sketch was better, where like you're not just laughing at them, you're laughing with them. But what does it mean to sort of shift the perspective of the show the way this does, where it's not just like, oh, there's gay people in the sketch, but you're like, the point of view of this sketch is gay or is queer.
Yeah. I get everything you're saying, and it's something that like when you're writing, it's something you like don't think about and you do think about, or you don't even know that you're thinking about. It's just our point of view. It's just our sensibility. It's just what we find funny. We write who we like to write for. We don't go into it by being like, today we are going to like reverse 40. But that being said, I do think as we did more than one, and once we had done all three, I think we did a little bit get a kick out of and did like the fact that a yearly Super Bowl ad was, for these 3 years at least, always going to be fronted by a woman, and then it was going to be very gay. Yeah. Like, I think we did like that a little bit. In the third year, I think we were like, I like that the SNL take on the Super Bowl is this woman. Yeah. Like, because I don't think it's expected, and it certainly hasn't been the case before. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to, it's a job, so you're like,
you're in it, so you don't
just
think
like
about
typing,
it.
You're not like,
thinking about it.
Me subverting.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it in a macro sense like
that. But
that.
then when you look back, you're like, oh, look at this. We are, as you said, like, oh, we are people and we have our point of view, and then that just continues through.
Yeah, I think that all that stuff happens like in hiring. It's like when you hire different voices, like as writers and cast members, you're going to get a variety of you're going to get surprise sketches like this. So then we don't have to like think about it while we're there writing. That's what we write, and so that's what you get.
We'll be back with more Chris Kelly and Sarah Schneider. Hello! Speaking of hello, I want to tell you about HelloFresh, a meal kit delivery service that shops, plans, and delivers step-by-step recipes and pre-measured ingredients so you can just cook, eat, and enjoy. I am a person who enjoys cooking. Does cooking count as a hobby? I hope so, because it's like the only thing I do on the weekends. But, I have a hard time getting things together during the week, and honestly, HelloFresh makes that easier. So each week they send fresh, pre-measured ingredients and easy-to-follow 6-step pictured recipe cards to your door in a special insulated box. And then all the meals come together in like 30 minutes max, call for less than 2 pots and pans, and require minimal cleanup. And honestly, I really like the food I tried. So they have 3 plans to choose from: classic, veggie, and family, and you can switch between the options as you go. I got the classic. And I found it a good way to get out of the sort of rut of cooking the same things over and over. Like, one of the things I made was meatloaf with roasted veggies, and I think I've honestly never eaten meatloaf before. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't like the word loaf. And sometimes people put hard-boiled eggs in it, and I thought that was really gross. But I made this meatloaf, and I was like, maybe I love meatloaf. I especially love the gravy. Look, I'm no big city chef, pull suspenders, but I think their secret is they have these stock concentrates that just bring a real depth of flavor to the sauces. Maybe I am a big city chef. So here it is, the special deal HelloFresh is offering Good One listeners. Get $80 off your first month by going to HelloFresh.com/Good180 and enter Good180. So that's the words Good One and then the numbers 80. So GOODONE number 8, number 0. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/Good180 and enter Good180 and get $8 off your first month of HelloFresh. We are back with Chris and Sarah. So this sketch reminds me of a series of events that happens over the first 2 episodes of the other 2. First, in the pilot, Carrie makes out with his straight roommate. And then afterwards, he's talking to Brooke about it, and he says,
I don't know. I think he's bisexual because it's not 2010 anymore. Those people are real now. They exist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically bisexual.
No, you're not. You just dress up for pride.
Then in the second episode, Carrie and Brooke go to the premiere party for the movie When in Nome. Mm-hmm. And Brooke has no place to live, is invited to crash at a woman named Britlin's place. The audience knows Britlin is 11 years old.
Yes.
But Brooke doesn't, because Britlin does makeup tutorials, and as a result, she looks like she's 30. So at her place, Britlin, who again is 11, invites Brooke up to her room to play with her toys. Brooke calls Carrie.
Carrie, I have an emergency.
Where are you? I'll come find you.
I'm in Soho.
What? Why does everyone keep leaving me? I didn't want to come to this.
Okay, Carrie. You know, I've always prided myself on probably being bisexual. Well, I went home with this girl, Britlin, who, offered me a place to crash, and now she wants to have sex, and I'm not into it. I mean, am I a straight woman? That is nothing anymore.
Wait. Why these moments? What does it say about Brooke? What does it say about the world of the show and the point of view of the show?
Basically, our idea for Brooke is when the series starts, she and her little brother becomes famous. She's thrilled. And we as an audience know that she maybe doesn't have her shit together. She used to be a professional dancer, but doesn't do it anymore and is now got a day job. But she's in a rut and doesn't quite know it. So she goes with her little brother to this red carpet premiere. And she's like, I'm a hot, badass, progressive, smart woman. I'm young. I'm cool. Everyone's going to want to talk to me. And this episode is when it starts to kind of fall apart. She starts to realize that maybe she's not as ahead of the curve as she thought she was, that life is a little bit passing her by, and that she thinks she's young and cool and on top of it. But then she's talking to 11-year-olds who are have a makeup empire or who are already talking about their 401ks. So this was a funny way to kind of show that, to you see that she is really getting along with an 11-year-old. It's because in a lot of ways, Brooke has the tastes and interests of an 11-year-old.
Sure.
But yeah, this is the episode where she sees a bunch of people way younger than her doing way more, and it makes her take stock of
she thinks she is. Yeah.
It is the thing that you guys have done things about. I mean, you had This Is Not a Feminist Song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you find funny about sort of performed feminism or sort of the idea of white feminism?
This idea is that it all just feels like a minefield, but people are well-intentioned going into it. And so it does feel like a difficult terrain to enter, and you want to proudly be a part of this conversation, but it does feel like you could easily say something or do something in the wrong direction.
And also Brooke is very much I'm a hot progressive feminist, and it's well, in what ways? How do you live your life as such? What do you do? What do you believe? If you were to ask her a single follow-up question, it would a house of cards fall apart.
Yeah.
So it's more of a fun branding as opposed to an actual point of view.
Yeah. This clip and then sort of a lot of the plot of the first episode as it relates to Carrie are these sort of straight people who are have a relationship to gayness that is different than you see in so much that it assumes that people should be somewhat gay. Like there is a certain sort of like, oh yeah, so like everyone is on a, like it's the most like assumed spectrum sexual comedy that I could think of.
Okay, cool.
That's great.
What do you find funny about that? What do you find compelling about that?
So for Brooke, I think being like, I'm basically bisexual, that's like she's branding herself that. And I think for Brooke, maybe for other people, but let's just keep it to Brooke, it's like, I support gay people. I support the LGBT community. So therefore, because I'm also bisexual. And it's like, we don't need you to say you are bisexual. If it's not homophobic if you're straight. Like, if you're straight, that's just what you are. You can be straight and support the LGBTQ community. But I think Brooke is like, no, I support in a way that like me too as well. I also am that. And it's like, you don't need to do that.
I think it's part of her wanting to be like relevant and be like involved and be like part of the moment of the now.
Yeah, because she does say in episode 2, she's like, what am I, just a straight woman?
That's nothing anymore.
It's like she wants to use it to be a thing as opposed to actually genuinely supporting it. But for the straight roommate, I think that's like sort of different. I don't know.
The simplest version is like why that storyline, I guess.
We get into it more as the season goes on, but it's a little bit to kind of tell you things about Carrie's, like where he is, like how comfortable he is in his own skin. You know, he's out and he's a gay person, but he's still choosing to be in love with someone who is not going to give it back because maybe that's easier, or he's a little not fully comfortable with himself and he's not, I don't know. It's like something like versions of things I relate to where he's like a little, you know, he's out, but he's still like a little self-hatey or.
It reminded me a little bit in the other people, like you have these gay characters who are jealous of younger gay people.
Yeah.
They're
a
like,
little confidence in their self-identity and how easily it seems to come to them.
It comes to them, yeah.
And I think, that his relationship is so telling about Carrie, and it allowed us to show his mental state when it comes to how, I'm just repeating what you said, how comfortable he is with being out into the world, because that is that's safe, quote unquote. Like if he's in love with this straight roommate, it is never going to become a full, real gay relationship. So he doesn't have to actually confront those ideas or that his gayness.
He doesn't need to deal with like the problems that he probably know he has deep down. But I mean, that's a thing we talked a lot about in the writers' room, because the premise of the show, I think it sounds like it's two older siblings jealous of their little brother, but we really wanted it to be more than that. And so we really wanted Chase's fame to make Brooke and Carrie confront some shit that they were probably going to need to deal with anyways if he didn't exist. But because he does exist, they have to deal with it in surprising ways.
To try to connect it to Totino's, to the other two more, which I think it works thematically. So, though not directly, in some ways, the comedy and the pathos and the honor you give this nameless housewife is similar to Molly Shannon's character.
Whoa. Okay.
What draws you to these characters? What do you want to say about them? What do you want to? How do you want to portray these people? I feel like do not get portrayed so kindly by society.
Well, I think we want to just like expand their world, expand their story, because it feels like with Molly's character, we similarly thought that could be very like surface level, very just like stage mom or go in that one direction, but we wanted her to be this multidimensional, recently widowed woman who's not dealing with her issues and is embarking on this year of yes instead. And that just let us expand her story, and she's not just popping in just to be like, I, met other stage moms and we went clubbing. It's more in depth with her character, and I think that is similar to Vanessa, because we did want to expand her world and her story too. There's an easy way to tell a short story about these women, and we like to tell a longer one.
I imagine leaving SNL, there's a desire to stretch yourselves as writers, but because of the nature of the show and that it's like related to pop culture things, it allows you to still find comedy in like more like now things. Was that important to you? Is that something that you think is like ultimately part of your interests?
Yeah, I think when we were thinking about this show and thinking about leaving SNL, our last year, I was going to say our senior year, our last year there, we were so like deeply ingrained in the political scene and keeping on top of all of that. And we knew we kind of wanted to like step away from that in our work, but we loved writing stuff that was topical and felt like pop culture-y. We loved satirizing that with we loved doing the music videos and stuff. So that does feel like a little bit of a lifeblood of what we like to write. And so it felt only natural we would keep living in that world a little bit.
Yeah. But we wanted that with the balance of like grounded storytelling. Like we still wanted it to have heart and be like human and ultimately be about the character. So we found this was like a a good way to mash the two together.
I was going to ask about that because I think it's you leave and you could do whatever you want. Like, the industry can't be like, yes to it, but you're allowed to write whatever you want.
You can try to do whatever.
Yeah. But especially that's just, you make a decision, what is the thing that we want to make? And I think, and also like, what are people buying? Like, oh, it's usually sort of these dramedies things. And so I was, why this sort of, I mean, like Chris, you made other people and you had worked on Master of None at this point. Why this specific tone? I feel like a lot of times comedy writers, when they ask about it, it's like, we're just driven by what we find funny, but like you're also writing clearly drama also. So what is this? What is this specific balance of tone that is specific and different than other versions of it that was like, this is where we wanted to be?
Well, I think even when we were at SNL, we started going towards pieces that were had some drama in them. Like, some of those pieces we wrote are like that Fatal Attraction parody with Kellyanne is like a drama. And I think we just liked that. We liked that combination of tone, and the shows that we were watching and enjoying had that similar tone, like Fleabag and You're the Worst, and and High Maintenance, and they had the similar combination of the two. And so when we decided to write a show, we knew we wanted to be able to do both because we like writing both of those things, and they complement each other.
Was it hard to figure out how to, like, a joke? People don't say professionally written funny things in real life. So, like, is it hard?
We talk about that. That is a thing that kind of annoys us in TV a little bit. Or not annoys us. That isn't our... Yeah, when you can feel a character setting themselves up for a joke. Or it's like, we always say that it's something being like, I haven't been this tired since. It's like, no one does that. No one talks like that. And that's not bad. Like, that happens in shows. And that's just like that's a good example of like not what we wanted to do. We wanted it to be... the jokes just come from the characters or like their humiliations or the things that they go through, and not be less like, I'm a character saying a joke and you're saying a joke back to me.
Yeah, because they're like, those scripts are masterpieces. Like, as writers, we can look at them and be like, holy crap, there is a joke every other line. How? But you can never fully get in with the characters because you're kind of kept at arm's length.
We wanted people to still feel like they just talk like how people talk. I don't know. At least us. I'm not trying to throw shade.
No.
But we also, but I know the answer is what you said is annoying. We just wrote what we thought would be funny, Because we were like, this is our first thing we're going to try to do. We might as well at least try to make something that we 100% like and stand by, whether it works or it doesn't, because we only get one chance to try to say like, hey, this is our first thing we could do if we got to do anything.
Well, we started with the fart sketch. The farts commercial in the cold open is a sketch that we tried twice on SNL, and it's one of our favorite sketches we ever wrote, and we loved it so much, and it just didn't work. So we were like, starting from there, we know we have that. What world can we build around this?
Well, and often the cold opens play rhythmically a bit like sketches.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, there's comedy. We promise you there's comedy at parts of this show.
Yeah.
Even if I'm always interested in writing partnerships like yours, because you've talked about, linking in SNL and because your sensibilities lined up and but you've evolved since, and it still does. But, in what ways does it not? And in what ways does that expand what you would have done if sort of by yourselves? And sub-question, what ways does it not line up where it sort of can't be? You're like, oh, that's something I'd have to do on my own.
Well, I think we've definitely grown together and like solidified our tone since we started writing together. But I will say that first starting to write with Chris really impacted, because I was at College Humor, which is like 95% male. And so you kind of, my mid-20s, I spent writing two men, sort of. And, the ideas that felt a little more female skewing, there wasn't an audience for them, so they wouldn't make. Like, every once in a while I would scoot one through. But like going...
So you were excited to write with someone without a male energy, is what you're saying?
Yes. Someone more feminine than me, No, I was excited because I got to SNL and Chris was already like writing like more in a for everyone but for women tone. I don't know why. And the women there were so inspiring to write with. So like...
You also said I remember someone asked us this question a long time ago, and the answer you gave was that our voices are pretty similar, but if you had to choose, you would say you're sillier and I'm darker, which now I don't think that's quite the answer, because I kind of can't tell where it ends and starts, because we really overlap. It's almost like a perfect circle now, probably because our voices have turned into one after 8 years. But maybe, yeah, because you came from College Humor and I came from The Onion. And so I think maybe mine had my writing had like a sharper edge to it, or it was darker or more, not pessimistic. I don't know, darker.
Yeah. And I was maybe
like knee jerk, you would be like silly and I'd be like deaf.
Broader.
And then we'd be like,
and then we came
put them together. Yeah.
So to close on one last question about Totino's, you did a lot at SNL, a lot that it was really great. You had the songs and you had Bernie and Hillary, which were, and like a lot of stuff that's really personal to yourselves, really true to your experience. You've hired some really people that like, I think even when you're gone have, I think, changed what SNL is. What does, when you think about it, what do you feel about Totino's? But like, as you're artists that have moved forward, what does that experience you feel like shaped you?
Well, it's really nice. Like I watched them back for this, and it's nice to like watch something again and still feel excited about it or still laugh at it and have joke. I mean, obviously you wrote it, so it's like you're the best audience for it.
Yeah.
But there's like so many things that you can look back at and be like, oh, that wasn't so many things I've looked back at, even from SNL, where you're just like, ooh, that wasn't quite worth it, or it doesn't hold up or something.
Especially a lot of that political stuff that last year. We spent our last year at SNL, which I truly loved. So this is not, but you spend so much of your last year just being responsive to the news. Just you're constantly chasing it, and something you write one week is so old and wrong and not a part of the story a week later.
Totally.
And it was very fun to do the like lightning in a bottle stuff and like write something on the day something happened. But they don't have like a long shelf life. So it's weird because even when you were asking like what is a sketch you would want to talk about, we both were like, should we do Totino's? I don't know. They're just sweet. We like them. We love Vanessa. I mean, it's embarrassing. We like the happy ending that this character has. I think that is it's indicative of our tone. We like that it starts like a little hard and like a little mean towards this like straight male football vibe. And then it doesn't, it's not even about that. It's just like a woman just finding happiness.
It is crazy. It starts with such a mean J.K. Simmons and then ends where it ends.
Yeah.
I am like happier or like in hindsight proud that those sketches were on SNL, not in a like we changed it way or something. I don't know. You maybe couldn't have seen them on the show.
I think it doesn't feel like something that would have been on SNL before you were there writing for SNL. Like it's like someone
factually,
yes, right. But it's like you see it, and I think hearing it's like one, you're like we're still the people that wrote that. You're like that still connects to us. It's not like we can write sketches so we can write about. But also, you're like that stuff just wasn't on SNL. Like it's why though you didn't notice you're subverting something, it is why you look and you're like, that is subverting what was on the show.
That's nice.
It is nice. Like not a lot of people do.
And also it wouldn't exist without Vanessa. I mean, she's it's like a no duh, but I mean, she has such a specific voice that's so funny and also so different than a lot of other people on the show. It's like she does what she does so perfectly well and better than anybody else. So it's like a joy to look back and watch them because of her too.
Yeah, because she's dead now.
She's dead. It was
so dead. It's sad.
She is.
What
dead.
a memorial! This podcast. That sound means it's time for the final segment, which is the laughing round. It's like a lightning round, but because it's comedy, it's a laughing round.
Cute.
What sketch do you wish you could sort of steal? Like a sketch that existed that you wish that not only you wrote, like you wish that no one ever, like the person who wrote it didn't exist. It is your sketch. It always was your sketch, and you wrote.
Interesting.
Wells for Boys. I thought was like, I loved that sketch when I saw it the first time, Julio Torres.
I know. I thought I was going to give like an all-timer answer, like a sketch from 20 years ago. But but I'm saying my first thing that I thought was a thing that I saw on the show this year that made me laugh so hard. I watched it 50 times. I texted
Allison's?
Kate about it.
Yeah.
The Teacher Fell Down.
Yeah, Allison Gates.
It's so weird. Do you know what that sketch is?
Yeah, of course.
Where it just opens on Kate already on the ground and the teacher fell and she's just like, class, I know this is weird for you. Like you're so used to seeing the teacher above you, but I'm below you. And when it started, I actually went to go rewind my TV because it looked like the setup was missing. But no, it just goes right in. It was so bizarre and felt so clearly like one person's sense of humor. Who is it?
Allison Gates.
Allison Gates.
Yeah, she's a writer this year.
That I instantly was like, I wish I could steal it. And now cut out all that. And so then Sarah and I wrote Teacher Fell Down.
Yeah.
If I were to pick a different sketch of yours to want to do this about, it would be Wishing Boot.
Oh my God, I love Wishing Boot.
Can you tell me sort of everything about Wishing Boot that in maybe a minute, like a minute version of that?
We love Wishing Boot. Wishing Boot came fully formed from Chris. Like Chris was like, let's do a country song about a little black boot that
makes all your wishes come true.
Wish on.
I think I text because we always, whenever we write music videos, we text ideas all night, the four of us, and then we the next day we'll be like, oh, that one you texted kind of stood with me.
Yeah.
And that one we didn't do it. We talked about a bunch of things, and then I was like, guys, I'm probably going to be wrong. Boot. I might be wrong, but I think it could be enough.
I think so. I was anti Wishing Boot. I was just like, this is too small and can't go anywhere.
And so I shut up. I was like, yeah.
I think we just needed to brainstorm on it because, like, on its surface, it isn't anything.
Yeah. But then when we watched a bunch of other music videos, they are all Wishing Boot. Yeah. They are all about, like, God, like, and they're all about God. Yes. But they're all about, like, 1,000 different people down and out in different ways. And then the Lord came and gave them everything they wanted.
Yeah, that was the piece that we figured out that was sort of missing, or not missing, but just the idea there was, like, all these different stories that.
Yeah, once it got bonkers, like truly the Wishing Boot, like got her out of jail. We were like, oh if we make it so dumb. And also Blake Shelton, it was like what we said earlier with Andrew Garfield. When you have the person doing the thing they're supposed to do the most, it legitimizes it so much. That's my favorite.
We loved that so much that after we were like, and Blake Shelton loved it so much that after we were like, do you think he would play Wishing Boot at one of his concerts? Like, do you think that would ever happen? And like, of course not.
No, not only that, but Sarah would like, do you think he would? And I was like, it's a full no-brainer. He will open with it. It actually will be his encore. The
fans will die.
And we're like, we're going to go to the Country Music Awards with this. 1 week later, absolutely, he probably doesn't remember he did it. And then also I was like, do you think I can keep the boot? And so many people were like, yeah, no, it's just a boot. You can have it. And I was like, I have the boot.
You do have the boot.
Do you have the boot?
No, a museum came and picked it up. I have the boot.
I have the boot.
It makes us laugh because it's such a dumb. I don't almost even feel. You feel like pretentious talking about yourself or about like sketches, but that sketch is so dumb that I can only just be like, I love that dumb little baby. Because when we were shooting it, remember it was like they had to have like a boot hanging on like a string, and they had all these lights and fog pointed at it, and cameras going around it, and a man would like spin the boot. It was so dumb.
So, Man Who Smells a Fart was famously your answer to the question, what is a sketch that you never got on the air? So now you are being interviewed and you need to have a new answer. So, time to debut the new answer
of what we wish we'd gotten on the air.
We had gotten on the air.
We almost tried to put it in the show, but we couldn't do it. We tried it so many times. When we tried it the first time...
What is it?
Yes.
When we tried it the first time, it absolutely should have gone.
Yes.
And then we tried it a few other times and it should not have gone.
Sure. And
but it was a bunch of kids, like 8-year-olds, sitting around playing celebrity, but the way that they got people to guess who the celebrity was just like who that celebrity had like peed on or like beat up or like assaulted or brought a gun. Because like every famous person. But now it feels like too like on the nose or something.
Yeah,
but there was a 1 week when it didn't feel on the nose and we tried to get it on, it didn't get picked. Yeah. And then we tried it like 3 months later and it felt so on the nose just in 3 months.
I know, that's so true. Because we like that's just like the reference for all.
We like the casual energy of
kids now. We also did age, sex, feed.
This was bad. This isn't good.
No, that wasn't it. We tried a...
No, that's good. It should have gone. It was a talk show. It was just literally an impression parade.
Yeah,
you say it.
People coming on. But it was just
net worth.
Celebrities coming on and a host would be, hi, thank you so much for being here, whoever you are, age. And they would say their age. And they would say, okay, net worth. And they would say their net worth. And then they would say, okay, great. And now we're going to take a quick shot of your feet.
Now let's see your feet.
Let's see your feet.
And
okay, thanks so much for being here.
And it was just a phrase. Let's see those little toes. Okay, great. And thanks. It was just like Milo Ventimiglia and like an impression parade of actors. And
yeah. Did it?
It did not go.
Good emphasis.
And so what were you singing? What were you just singing?
There was a talk show that we wrote with Kate and Adie as old women who had lived in the same apartment together for decades, and it was a talk show, and they sang little like show tunes because they had met. It was like
80-year-old actresses
silly.
who like lived in the Carlisle and like hosted a talk show out of their hotel,
and all their guests were other like 80-year-old stand-ups, and and magicians.
It made us laugh
that.
so much, and it killed at the table. And I specifically remember people in the control room being like, "You guys are going to have to write 1,000 of these," and then
it didn't work.
It would be huge. It would be like a female "Oh Hello," and it'd be like on Broadway for you.
Yeah, I will say "Oh Hello" was stolen from this sketch, and I'm saying this now on the podcast.
The end.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. That's it for another episode of Good One. Saturday Night Live airs, I think, Saturday nights, and I'm pretty sure it's live. The other two airs Thursdays on Comedy Central. Follow Chris on Twitter at I'm Chris Kelly. You can follow Sarah on Twitter at Sarah Snyder, but she truly never uses it. Good One is produced by Mike Comite. Justin D. Wright did our theme song. Write a review and rate the show on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars, please. And hey, if you know anyone who might, like the podcast, maybe tell them. What the heck. You can email any comments, questions, or laughing around suggestions to goodonepodcast@gmail.com. I'm Jesse David Fox, and you can follow me at Jesse David Fox. We'll be back with a new episode and a new joke next week. Have a good one.
That was a HeadGum podcast.